seconds you'll be live. Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Right. Hello and welcome to the Northfield Ward Forum online meeting. Just turn my phone off, which is beeping away beside me. I was going to start with saying I miss seeing you all face to face at my monthly ward forums, but I cannot see you face to face. It's very strange doing this digitally, but you're very welcome. And I guess at least with running it this way, it's harder for me to be heckled, which does happen at some meetings. Anyway, so just to let you know, this is being recorded. It will go out live. It is going out live, and it will be put up online, so others who can't attend right now will get to watch it in the coming days. So if you know anyone who wanted to listen in, anyone who wanted to hear any of the specific things on the agenda today but can't make tonight, it will go up online. If you've got any questions, you can put them in the question box. Now, you will not see them pop up straight away. They will come through to the council team, who will check through them. The questions that are relevant to the various speakers we have on tonight will go to them and they will answer them. If there's questions that aren't relevant to them but I can answer, I'll try and do that at the end if we have time. If we don't have time, rest assured I will look to answer all of your questions, put them up online on my social media, and potentially put an email out to everyone who is on our email list. So hopefully everything you ask will get answered. Give me a second. So just to run through what we've got on this evening to talk about, I'm going to open up with a brief councillor report of what I've been up to. We've then got the lovely Councillor Paulette Hamilton, Cabinet Member for Health and Social Care, who's going to give us an update and hopefully take some of your questions if there is any around that. We've got a brief update on the somewhat controversial 5G mast, which is proposed for the Bristol Road South. Now, the resident who was going to lead on that can't make it because of a work issue, so I will briefly touch on that. And I will ask that resident to put a statement together, which will email round to everyone whose email we've got. If you're not on the email list, I will check with the team whether you can put it in the chat box and message us. We make sure we get your details so we can send things to you. There'll then be an update on the businesses on the high street. There'll then be an update from Northfield Community Partnership, who've been doing an incredible amount of work responding to COVID-19. Then we'll touch on Black Lives Matter and the impact of racism in our area. Just a little bit on that, because we're going to look at that a lot in our July meeting. Then, if there's time, I'll take more of your questions at the end. So to start, I'll quickly run through what I've been up to as your Northfield Ward Councillor. If you didn't know, if you're streaming in, I'm Ollie Armstrong. I'm your Northfield Ward Councillor. So since COVID has kicked in, I've been working alongside Northfield Community Partnership pretty much every day. I based myself at the local community centre where the food bank was based, helping sort the food parcels, but also connecting various groups across Northfield who are working for the common good of all of our residents to help in this crisis. I've been working with the fire service. We got their safe and well list signed off to myself as councillor. Me and a team of volunteers have rang through hundreds of people to check they're okay, send out jigsaws to provide food if they need it, and also just to chat to a lot of lonely people. It's been really positive. It's really helped to bring community together. I put a letter round on safety to every house in the ward. Now, some people found that a little controversial. I think I had 3 people ask, well, why was I doing that when we weren't supposed to be out and about? Just to be clear and to reassure you, I got that signed off by the head of health, Justin Barney, by the leader of the city council, and by the legal team. I did wear a mask. I was covered in alcohol gel. It was all safe. It was incredibly useful, I think, getting that letter out, because we had a lot of people get in touch who were lonely and isolated and needed food or help, specifically because of the letter. So I think it was well worth getting that around the ward. In response to that, I've also just put another smaller run of letters out, because we've set up a load of very small hyper-local community Facebook groups. The idea of that is that throughout the coronavirus crisis, it's been clear communities have pulled together really well. Lots of WhatsApp groups, a lot of people supporting their neighbours, especially neighbours who are on their own or shielding or vulnerable. So what myself and other residents have done is set up little Facebook groups for little blocks of streets from right across the ward. If you'd like to be added to one of those groups to check in with each other, to chat, to share information, and then once or twice a week, I'll check in. So if there's issues from me as your local councillor, I can pick them up from these small Facebook groups and we'll make it really personal. Let me know and I'll get you added to a little group specifically for your area. I've also set up an online reading group for the area for people who want to read and learn about how we bring social change and social impact for Northfield. Again, if you want to be part of that, let me know. And I've set up a climate cafe. Again, it's online for now. When we're allowed to meet face to face, we're going to have a monthly Northfield meeting to talk about how climate breakdown is impacting our community and how we respond with climate justice to make our area better, greener, cleaner and livable for our children and grandchildren and future generations. Last couple of things on my report. I've been working with the Northfield B.I.D on work around how we make the high street not just safe under coronavirus, which you'll hear a bit more about on the specific B.I.D report, but also how we change the whole area so it's really nice and pleasant to walk, cycle, push chair, wheelchair into the high street in future. So hopefully we get more people coming in and using the shops after lockdown. Yeah, last thing on my report, I sometimes get a bit of criticism for being on social media a lot, and I have to admit I am a bit of an addict to being on both Facebook and Twitter. Not always healthy, but to say throughout this crisis, I think it's shown how useful social media can be. The amount of referrals we've had through social media for food, for support, and people offering help and offering donations to the food bank, both money and food, has been brilliant. But it's definitely shown how social media can be used incredibly positively, and I think us doing this Ward Forum online shows the positive strength of technology when used right. So yeah, I'm really pleased that we're doing a lot of tech stuff, including this Ward Forum. That's my council report. I'm now going to hand over to our friend Paulette Hamilton, who's going to run through what she's been up to and hopefully take some of your questions.
Hi.
Hi, Paulette.
Right, am I through?
I think you're live.
Am I live? Good afternoon or good evening, Ollie, and good evening to all the residents who are online and who may listen to this later from Northfield. I'm delighted to be here tonight. My name's Paulette Hamilton. I'm the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Health and Care and Public Health. And tonight, Ollie has asked me to discuss a little bit about where we are as a City Council around COVID-19. And also he's asked me to come back a little bit later on and to talk a little bit about Black Lives Matters. Because it's Ollie, I will help, I will support, I will do what I can. But let me start with why I'm here. Right. COVID-19, many of you will know, I don't know how much information you know, but it started in Wuhan in December 2019. We had our first case in Birmingham in March 2020. As of today, we've had just over 4,400 cases, but from those cases, we've had 1,500 people approximately that have passed away in Birmingham. Many of our cases from COVID-19 over the last 3 months have been quite tragic, many of our cases, because we've had a number of our cases from our ethnic minority groups. Now, up until today, we've been working hard as a service to ensure that we pass the information on to people that they need around COVID-19. So around washing your hands, practicing social distance, so remaining, I know that they're changing it at the moment, but as of tonight, remaining 2 meters apart, which it hasn't changed, but also if you're out and about, wear a cloth, it's a bit late, Ollie, wear a cloth mask. And that is what we've been asking people to do. Now, we're still getting cases each day. The most we've had in the last few weeks is about 24 cases, and the least we've had is 4 cases. On a good day, around 4 new cases. On a bad day, about 24 cases. But we still are getting cases of people testing positive from COVID-19. I also want to tell residents that they're not old people. We've had two young people tested at the age of 20 of COVID-19, and the average age now is under 40 that we're getting through. So this is not what people have been saying, an old person disease. People of all ages can still get it. What I'd like you to know where we're at the moment is around test and trace. It is really important that residents understand what this is, because test and trace is a really important thing that has been set up so that we can identify people that are testing positive quite quickly and we can get them isolated. So if someone's tested, we trace who they've been in contact with and we get them isolated quickly. And that means if they live in a family, they are isolating for 14 days. If you're on your own, it's 7 days. It is really important that if you feel you've got the symptoms and you're a key worker, that you, if you need it, you ring 119 for the test. Now remember, the test can be sent through on pillar 2 through the post, or you get it through the post. Let me get this right. Because it's 7 o'clock at night. You can get it through the post, or you can test it from a drive-through. If you get tested through pillar 1, the NHS actually do that testing. And also, if you ring 119 and your English is not your first language, they also have interpreters. And if you ring 111, you still will be seen to, but unfortunately they haven't got interpreters on that line. It is really important with test and trace that people observe what's being said, because the beauty of test and trace, if things are set up correctly in a local area, people can be identified quickly, they can be tested very quickly, they can be then be told to isolate quite quickly, and that will stop the spread of this disease, this virus. Because remember, and this is my last word on this, remember, COVID-19 has not gone away. We do expect that there will be a 2nd, 3rd, 4th wave. But the message tonight is, if we keep to the rules, if we wash our hands, if we don't gather in large crowds so we can pass it to one another, if we can wear a mask when we're out, a cloth mask, so we are not stopping people who need it from the NHS or care services getting what they need, we help to reduce the spread of COVID-19. I want to stop there because I've said a lot in a short space of time. So are there any questions, Ollie?
Yeah, so I was going to just check in with a couple of things. There's one specifically to you from Alfrey, which is what the DWP minister stopping the sanctions today and the impact on people. Let me just break this down. Alfrey, if you're listening, do you mean, so the DWP minister is to reintroduce sanctions? Is that what you're asking? Could you possibly, Alfrey, reframe that question?
The DWP, Ollie, is the Department of Work and Pensions. Yeah. Sanctions are around if you've done something wrong and you haven't signed on, they sanction you from your benefits, which is a different subject, unless you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's for me to look at. And then, Alfrey, I'll come back to that in any other business. And my guess is that's because they have been paused, but they're saying today they will re-put them in. So let me just, I've got 2 questions actually, Paulette, but let me just look through.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if you can you see on the side there's a load of questions, or can I just see them? Just me. Well, it's not for you. They're all for me, right?
They're all for you, yeah.
While I'm talking, if anyone listening has questions for Paulette on her portfolio, so the things she looks after on health at the council. Please ask them now. This is your chance. But there was just two things, Paulette, if we could get any thoughts or feedback on how things are going with care homes. I know in the press there's been a lot of concern about high impact within care homes, and I have checked around the care homes in our ward and had really positive feedback from them, but it'd be good to get a citywide perspective from you. And then I know you did a big drive to get more PPE across the city. I know in Northfield we had a big donation from GMB, big shout out to that union who gave Food Bank a lot of PPE donations. But is there anything else you want to share on that, or how we're going? Thank you.
Let's start with PPE. As you know, at the very beginning, PPE was very sporadic. So we struggled to get the PPE that we needed because I'm not blaming anybody, but the government had said it was logistics, why the PPE couldn't come from where it was at to the different areas. We then found out later that there wasn't enough PPE in the country. So we had shortages of PPE. So what we did as a region, we then started to work together with all the authorities across the region to try and work with business to get PPE. At this moment, as of today, PPE, we are able to access PPE in Birmingham, and we haven't got a problem at this moment in time accessing PPE across all our homes at the NHS or any other area that needs it in Birmingham. So PPE at the moment we haven't got a problem with, but we still have to keep monitoring it. But at this moment in time, we're able to access the PPE we need with the help of a lot of business people and other people donating PPE and what have you. We are able to access the PPE, so our residents are not struck. Well, if our key workers who are in the health service care sector need PPE at this moment, they are not struggling to get it. Secondly, you asked about care homes. We have been lucky that through pillar 2, I always get my pillars mixed up, through pillar 1, the NHS, we have been able to get all of the care homes across the city. All of them have had every single resident that lives in the homes tested. So we are up to date. They're all tested across the city, and unless there are any potential breakouts of COVID at this moment in time, as of the beginning of June, all our homes, all our residents in the homes, all the staff have been tested. Okay, so at the moment in Birmingham, and you just don't know for how long, we are quite settled. We've got a few little outbreaks across the city, but nothing major and nothing that is not being managed. And any care home that has been struggling, we've also been able to give them the PPE that they need. So we've given out, I think, 1.4 million pieces of PPE. Wow. To our care homes. So at this moment in time, we are supplying our care homes. And I have to say, the community trust has been phenomenal in the area of helping us to do all the local testing that has been needed. So we went on a mission and actually went ahead of ourselves to ensure that all our homes had the tests that they needed. And we even moved it forward now. So we've tested all our elderly homes, and now we're in the process of ensuring all our younger adults are tested. So those that live with mental health issues, learning disabilities and physical disabilities, all of them from the age of 65 downwards, we're going into all those homes and testing them also.
That's really brilliant. And I'm sure, like yourself, I'm really grateful for the management of our local care homes has been brilliant. You know, I've been incredibly impressed. So the one other question, I've got it now on my, for anyone listening in, I get a sidebar of questions. And it's the first time I've done this, so I'm just trying to decipher how I get those across to people. Do bear with me. Paulette, the question is, how is the COVID information being distributed to Northfield residents and across Birmingham? I'll quickly say, from my end, if anyone thinks I haven't been sharing enough info on that, do let me know, and I'll try and do more social media posts, because I do get sent stuff from Paulette to share. If I'm not doing that enough, let me know. Paulette, how are you getting the info out around the city?
Well, we put a lot out through Elsie Brums. We put a lot out through the Public Health Director, through myself. We put a lot out through all our councillors, our MPs, through local homes we send stuff to. If people want things, we send it out to them. But we've been doing a lot of it via email. Email, Twitter, Facebook, wherever we can, and getting getting our local elected representatives to also help us get things out. We've been doing things in other languages. We've been doing audio tapes, videos. We've been doing videos. Whatever method we've needed, we have been trying to get it out. But if somebody feels they're not getting enough, they're not seeing enough, if they give you the information and there's things that they want, just let us know and we're happy to send it out.
Yeah, and if anyone's got any ideas how we can do more, let us know, and I can help with that locally, and Paulette will help with that across the city. Gillian, I just accidentally deleted your question, so I don't know what it says. Gillian, please ask your question again. Now I'm going to ask a couple more questions to Paulette. I want to move on to the next thing, but as ever, we've had loads more questions pop up. Initially, there was none. Suddenly, there's loads, Paulette. Just take a minute.
No, just take your time. It's the first time you're doing this.
There's one about funding for people, mental health concerns in the community. So let me just read you that question. Paulette, what additional funding, if any, is there for people with mental health concerns in the community who are finding this COVID situation challenging? I'm particularly interested in mental health hospitals. What checks are carried out on patient welfare in hospitals? CQC, I don't know what that is. The CQC have abandoned mental health
Quality Commission.
There you go. So what's Birmingham City Council doing around that?
Well, as far as funding is concerned, what we've done is we've worked with the Mental Health Trust, and they've been putting out loads of guidance, advice, support. People that are already in the mental health system, they are being contacted by key workers to ensure that, and do safe and well checks to assure that they're okay. People that have developed any psychosis or any conditions, as long as they contact the services and we know about them, they're being taken in and treated as normally. The funding, I'm not saying to you Birmingham City Councillors handed out any extra funding, but what we've done through the third sector, we've given them more funding through BVSC and others where they can help to support people in the community.
Thank you. There's two more. Then there's a few more questions, so I'm going to ask Paulette a couple more. There's a couple of suggestions on here, so we'll document them, and I'll talk to Paulette in the week about how we put some of these suggestions in place if we can. But Canon Janet from St Lawrence, hi Janet, she says, do we know how much inoculations of children have fallen since lockdown? We don't want an outbreak of measles, polio, etc. So do we know anything about how that's been impacted?
I don't know. I don't know how many children have. I didn't. That wasn't a question I envisaged. So what I'll do is, instead of lying or saying something that's not true, let me go away, find out. If the Public Health Director will know the exact figures, and then we'll get that back to you. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll get that, won't we? That should be straightforward to find out. Last one. And again, we might have to go back and email this stat. It's a question for a stat, or we can put it on social media. From Gillian, thank you, Gillian. What is the current level of the virus in South Birmingham? I guess just
interesting.
At
the moment, the virus, the highest level of the virus is in East Birmingham. That's where we're seeing at the beginning. It was being dotted around the city, but we've seen a slight increase in the east of the city. But I can't tell you that the virus is 20% in South Birmingham because I don't know. All I know is we've had 26 cases and they've been dotted around the city. And we've had a few cases more in East Birmingham. The east side.
Yeah, actually, I remember maybe it was a few weeks ago or a month ago, I think I had this conversation with adjusting, and I think he was saying we can't break it down to hyper local at the minute.
Because if she's talking about the R rate, the R rate can only be done on a regional level. It cannot be done on a local level, if that's what the lady's talking about. And so we cannot tell you on a local level what the rates are, but we know as a city we're at something like 0.9. But as a not a city, as a region between 0.7 and 0.9. But as a city, we don't know, and I definitely have no idea when it comes to South Birmingham. But I do know when you look at the number of cases, we have a few more extra cases in the east of the city compared to, say, the west of the city or the north.
Last question is just, I know I said I wasn't going to take any more, but this has just popped up from Kate. And Kate says, Paulette, you reported on the help given to care homes. Does that include the privately owned care homes where patients and clients pay high fees? So a BCC.
Absolutely. We don't differentiate. If they remember, all care homes are privately owned. If you pay £2,000 for a resident who lives in a care home and somebody else pays £800, we don't treat them differently because they pay £2,000. They're all treated the same. So it isn't, all care homes are independent providers, so we don't treat them any different. But for us as a system, we need to ensure that our care homes don't fall over, because we have some of our most vulnerable residents living in our care homes. So it is in our interest to ensure that they get the best quality of life, because at the beginning of COVID, the issue was that they could be brought back into hospital, which would be blocking a hospital bed. So no, we definitely don't treat any care home or what have you differently.
Thank you. That's been really, really good. So thank you for that, and thank you for saying you'll stay for the little section at the end on Black Lives Matter, which I'm really excited to start the conversation on that in our area. And so, yeah, I'm now going to take over. So I think Paulette's going to be snuck away off screen, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll speak to you later.
And then I think it's back over to me. I'm just there. So do keep your questions coming in. As I say, if there's time, I'll answer them at the very end. If there's not time, they will go up online and we can email people, and I will chase up the questions as ever at my ward forums. I'll make sure I do my best to get something back to you. So the next thing we're going to look at on the agenda is the controversy around the G5 telecoms mast that is proposed to go up opposite the Meadows School on Bristol Road South. So just to run you through the context of this, there have been G5 masts go up across the city, I think across the West Midlands. Now we've been clear that I've been clear that myself and the lead residents who raised concerns on this have not been raising concerns over any health issues linked to some strange conspiracies around these masts. Residents and myself have raised issues on some key points. One is people simply weren't consulted. The documentation said that residents, the local school, local businesses were consulted, but actually it turned out that they weren't involved in the process. A whole load of residents have complained on the aesthetic of the mast going up pretty much right outside their windows. And I think actually there's probably a real energy in the area where people have felt once again, after a number of these kind of things have happened, it's something where they have not felt truly involved in the process. So just like a number of other big decisions in the area, residents have felt done to, not done with, and definitely not felt part of the process. So myself, a big group of residents, we made an online petition, a letter. I think over 200 people signed it. We had a number of letters go in of concern of planning. We looked up other 5G phone masts that planning had turned down, and we felt that the phone mast on Bristol Road South ticked all the boxes that a lot of the other masts ticked to be turned down. So we felt pretty sure it would be refused by planning. We felt that it would potentially block the footpath. The school put in a strongly worded letter. The local businesses put in strongly worded letters of concern, but that has been passed. So that's where we're up to now. As I say, there's some really strong feeling, and I think not just because of the Mast itself. I think it's almost a literal and metaphoric totem, a thing to focus on for the community. To say once again, we have not been heard when we've tried to raise our voices. Now, we're not sure how we best progress on this, and one of the residents was supposed to feed back to you now on where we're up to and where the community group are going. He's had some work issues come up, so he's not able to feed back. So I'm just going to tell you one more thing I'm doing. Then what we'll do is we'll park this. I'll get you a letter sent out from the residents group who are protesting against this Mast. So you're all in the loop, but it's always on my Facebook and Twitter. You can check in there. So at the minute, what I'm doing is I'm speaking this week to the telecoms company themselves to say, actually, if you'd included us in the process, there might have been a better place for this, not right by the school, not blocking a pavement, not right outside people's windows. We're going to see if we can actually suggest, well, is there somewhere else in the local vicinity that it would be more sensible to put, where it wouldn't impact the aesthetic and the highway. I've got that phone call this week. Yeah, I will get some more information for you, but that's pretty much where we're up to. I'm just going to scroll through the questions and see if there's any questions on the Mast. If you have any on the Mast, pop them in now and I'll answer them. Otherwise, we'll be moving on to the B.I.D at the Northfield High Street. Give me a second to look through the questions. Lots of questions, but not on the Mast. So we'll come back to those in a bit. Let me just double check. Right, that's fine. So yeah, if you do think in a bit, oh, I did want to ask that on the Mast, pop it in the questions or email me at my councillor email. I'm now going to hand over, I believe, to Marcia. He's going to give you an update on the Northfield High Street. Are you there, Marcia?
Councillor Armstrong, Master hasn't been able to log into the meeting, I'm afraid.
That'll be me again.
That'll be you again.
Egotistical. You're going to get sick of my face. Well, what we'll do is we'll bounce that to July, but just to quickly say, I've been in conversation with Marcia from the Northfield B.I.D, and that's just the group of the businesses on the High Street who've come together. Marcia works for them, but that's to come together to support the High Street, to keep it clean, to do loads of wonderful things, to put events on the High Street. And of course, over COVID-19, they've been working really hard to make sure businesses are supported. I've been in constant conversation with them. So they've now been working on, well, how do they make sure there's 2-metre markings on the street? How do they make sure they move some of the highway furniture so the pavements are wide enough to have people pass each other? How do the shops make sure they're safe? Marcia's done a fantastic job on that, as have a whole range of the businesses, and quite a few of them are now open. Just to say, please be really sensible, really wise when you're going out to the High Street. Yes, we want you to support your local businesses, and we hope after this emergency, we all support our local businesses more instead of large corporations where the tax goes offshore and it doesn't impact our communities. Generally, when you pay into your local community businesses, that money loops back around. So we need to support that. With that in mind, we're talking to the cycling and parks and walkway teams about making sure that our high street's really accessible from every angle. So I'm from the side I live, which is pretty much the south of Northfield, right from the park at the top. We want people to be able to walk, cycle, pushchair, wheelchair into the high street, leave your car at home. So we are working on that. Marcia will feed back next time, July maybe. Is Max with us to talk about Northfield Community Partnership?
No, I'm afraid not. Max.
My goodness.
Do a one-man show tonight.
That's fine. I mean, I can talk about them too because they're great. So I'll quickly touch on them. And well, I mean, actually, most of you watching this, I think, will know about the community partner, because if you're anywhere online, and you are if you're logging into this because it's a digital forum, you will have seen Northfield Community Partnership have led the way on COVID-19 response. So they've, for the last decade, so let's bear in mind that yes, we've needed food banks now because of COVID, but we've needed them for 10 years because of the governmental deliberate austerity. I know I try not to get too political on the ward forums, but because no one can heckle me, I'm going to say this. Come on. We've had 10 years of austerity, and Northfield Community Partnership have done an incredible job of running the food bank, but also support where they've supported people with housing issues, health issues, family issues, mental health issues. So they've really massively led on our COVID response. I've been working alongside them pretty much most days. They've connected loads of groups. They've gotten a load of funding for the areas over the last few months. And they're now looking at how they expand the next stage of work. What we can do is I can email round their flyer, I think. I'll check we can do that, but on my next email out, which has got the contact number. If you know anyone who needs food help or health help or any kind of community help, they will support you. So we'll get that number sent back. If you're wanting to help, either to physically volunteer, they need more volunteers to help pack food parcels, deliver food, just to help generally. You get in touch, we can link you up. If you want to help but you can't physically help, you can donate to their online donation point, and all of that money goes to food. We've had some really generous donations, a few £1,000s from residents actually, and every penny's went on food. So if you want to do that, you can. Yeah, they do an incredible job. Oh, blimey, we're almost at the last point actually, so that's good. I can bring Paulette back in. The last thing I wanted to touch on, and I'm going to bring Paulette back in on this if that's all right, is Black Lives Matter protest, but also Black Lives Matter as a movement. And also, I think it's really important, and Paulette touched on this a bit, the importance of recognising the severe and horrendous impact on Black and Asian communities of COVID, which interlinks with what a lot of Black Lives Matter are talking about. So the impact of poverty and negative impacts of health on those communities. Paulette, do you want to come in and chat on your perspective? And then what I'll do is I'll just then run through some of the quite nasty racist things that have been reported to me in the area, because I think it's important people see the kind of truth of the situation.
Right. I've been in the council since 2004, and at the time I had very young children when I came into the council, and as a Black woman going through trying to rear children, coming into the council, it wasn't easy. And Black Lives Matters, the reason I have supported the movement, it's not because, you know, many people will say to you, well, all lives matter. Now, I'm not saying that all lives, they don't matter, but it's like when you celebrate Father's Day, it's not that you're not saying that both parents don't matter, but on certain days, you've got to identify that there is, you are celebrating one parent. And that's what I believe Black Lives Matters are trying to say. There are some things that are out there that are wrong. There is institutional racism. I won't go into examples that I've gone through, but there is. But there are systemic things relating to education, housing. If you're living in a multi-generational house, English is not your first language, or you're not able to access what you need to learn, you will be disadvantaged by the employment opportunities you get going forward. And also disproportionately, it's facts, it's not something that is not written, it is facts. If you look at the amount of young Black men that are being hurt by police or through the system, it just doesn't add up with the population. So when Black Lives Matters really exploded, it was an opportunity for us all to just look at what were people trying to say. I'm not going to get into the hardcore politics of some of what has gone on, but as a councillor in Birmingham, I'd class myself as a senior councillor. I'm not one that says rip down every statue and change street names, because my argument is, if people don't understand history, they won't understand what went wrong so that it won't happen again. So you need to put the truth on those statues, not get rid of them so it's hidden. So Black Lives Matter for me is an important movement, because youngsters will not put up with what some of the older generation have put up with in the past around issues of discrimination and racism. And I know many people get upset when it's said, but it is just the truth. They are not going to put up with it. And what I have seen on the Black Lives Matters marches, because I haven't been on them, I would have loved to have gone, but with COVID-19, with everything I've said around social distancing, there is just no way I would have gone. But what I've seen, what young people have said peacefully and tried to demonstrate, is that they want to see change. They want to see people of colour, Black, Asian people of colour, being given the same opportunities so they can grow, they can thrive, they can develop. And for me, anyone who really looks at it in that way, it's just equality. We are a democratic country, and if we can't see that if you haven't got equality, you then haven't got democracy, then we're missing a trick. So for me, and I'm only speaking because Ollie has asked me, because I don't tend to speak publicly on these things, but it is really important that we understand that we have to work together if we want to affect change. And it doesn't mean that the Blacks go in one corner and the Asians go in one corner and the Irish community and the gay, the gay LGBT parts of the community go in one corner and the whites go in. No, it means we have to all work together if we want to affect change, but we have to understand what is happening if we're going to affect that change. And if I stop there, Ollie, has that helped too?
That's fine. That's really helpful, actually. So I'm just going to run through what we're doing, and I also just want to so first of all, thank you. Secondly, just to let residents know who are listening. So what we've done is in Northfield, we've got a couple of young Black artists and activists who've been volunteers and been wonderful in there. And now when the Black Lives Matter protest happened, they said they wanted to do something as Northfield residents, as young Black men, to do something in response. So what we've looked to do, myself and Northfield Community Partnership, and potentially backed by St Modman's, is help them set up a conversation to create some safe spaces for local Black and Asian people just to talk about their own experiences, negative and positive, but also to discuss what Black Lives Matter means to them, but also to talk about how COVID's impacted them as communities, so their wider community as well as their local one. So just so residents know, I think that'll have its first report back at my July Ward Forum meeting. If anyone listening wants to be part of that, do shoot me an email. It hasn't started yet, they're only just discussing it, and I'm going to let them get on with it. It's obviously not my lane, but I'm really excited that these two young men are going to bring that together themselves. Two local Northfield lads who've done a lot.
Ollie, that's how it's got to happen. It's got to be where the community come together and they want to affect change, but you have to have that conversation where you get that understanding. Because Ollie, I have known at least 25 people that have died from COVID-19 in the community, because in my part of the community and in the Asian parts of the community, we've seen a lot of death. And in other parts of the community, they haven't. But because of the underlying factors, which were not known at the beginning, large numbers of, numbers of the ethnic minority community have passed away. And because I know a lot of people, I know a lot of people that have died. And it has been a difficult time. So to just add to what you've said, what we are doing on a regional level, we're doing an inquiry also, where we're looking at COVID deaths and the factors leading up to the deaths and what's happened, and is there anything we could learn from it and anything we could do differently. And it's just to make sure, or to ensure, that going forward, if there is anything we can do to stop what has happened, you know, the only thing that people can do is ensure that they wash their hands and they social distance. I'm going to keep saying it, Ollie, because prevention is better than cure. It's better that you don't get this virus. But if you get this virus, if you're in optimum health, so you're not overweight, and if you're diabetic, it's under control, that you're taking extra vitamin D supplements, you're putting yourself in the best possible place to be able to fight these conditions, with this condition, I shouldn't say these, this condition. And it's educating. And this is why it's so important that 2 young black men have decided that they want to do this, because they want to go out there and educate, because that's how we learn. We're not going to get change if people don't get educated as to what the issues are.
Thank you. We were aware of the bigger, grander one you're doing, so I'd hope that these lads would link in with yours. We were kind of partly inspired by your one. We have been sharing your link on our social media. So just to quickly the last thing I want to do on this is, I've had a few residents, well-meaningly, but I think often poorly informed, say, well, this doesn't happen here, or it's not something we've seen here. And so I'm just going to quickly run through some of the things I've seen just in my 2 years of being councillor. So when I started, pretty soon after I started, there was a shop in Northfield that had Nazi badges up. They got took down. I reported them. I was told, oh, it was just for dress up. But I mean, that's for me obviously a horrendous start of a sign. Both myself and Councillor Alex Aitken, who's the councillor in Kings Norton, so his ward comes across the links to mine. Both the park and his and in mine had white supremacy stickers on lampposts last year. Got them took down. But I really didn't feel there was for me, a strong enough response from the powers that be to that. So we're pushing for change on that and saying, you know, these are signifiers of some really scary behaviour in the areas. And also at the last general election, a number of my Black and Asian friends who came to help in the election faced some horrific abuse. And it wasn't specifically, I was told, oh, well, it's just because you're out campaigning. Well, one, they shouldn't get that, whether you're Labour, Conservative, Tory, Lib Dem, you shouldn't face abuse. But also it was clearly racist abuse. So this does happen in our area. You know, and we need to face it if we're going to change it. With that in mind, I'm going to move on to answering a few questions, and I believe Max is on the call. We will report back in either July or August. And Paulette, I'll keep you in the loop. I'll get these 2 young men to message you and let you know what they're doing and link to your work. They're lovely, really lovely. I'm really pleased they're doing it. Right, thank you, Paulette. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Can I go now?
Yes, you can go.
Okay.
Max is here, who was supposed to be on, so we're going to try and get Max on if we. I will see you again soon, Paulette. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Right, so Max from the Northfield Community Partnership should be on. Are we able to get her on the screen?
I can't get Max on the screen. If Max could go in via the Q&A and communicate that way.
So we'll put any answers in there.
Yeah.
Max, if you can hear us, if you want to maybe just put your brief thoughts on what's been happening in the Q&A section. If anyone's got any questions about local community response, pop them in. I can read them out and Max can answer. I will speak to Max after this session. Sorry we couldn't get your lovely face on the screen, Max, but I will have a chat with you and see if I can get you on my next ward forum, because that'll be lovely. There'll be even more feedback then. I'm just going to pause for a minute and see if Max can put anything in the chat. And then when we've done that, I'll run through the remaining questions, of which is now quite a few. Has Max been able to post anything in? I'm not sure where I'm meant to be looking, to be honest.
I've got no questions from Max, but you've got 29 questions in the message box.
Yeah, I'm going to go through them myself in a minute. Right.
Nothing from Max at the moment, but if you want to start, take some of the questions that are in there.
That's fine. And I've got it's on my notepad to go through, I think, as well. Right. Let's see what we've got in the Q&A. I will do my very best. I think there is a couple I'm not allowed to answer. So what I'll do is I'll talk around them, and so you know that I can't answer them. So Robert Williams, I would like to know what the government are doing to support university students through the pandemic. Could they look at lowering tuition fees? Abolish tuition fees, I would say. Get rid of them. I don't know exactly what they're doing. I know there's been a lot of controversy. I know that some of the unions that actually support university teachers as well as staff have raised a number of issues over COVID. I don't have any exact information. Robert, if you're on social media and want to message me on Facebook or Twitter, I will get you some links to some of the students doing incredible work in Birmingham, supporting students there. And what I can do is link you in with them. And actually what I'll do is I'll put a statement on Facebook and Twitter with regards to students, and I'll get that from some of the students already doing that work. Just to say, I know that in Selly Oak, a lot of the Selly Oak COVID response, or part of it, was actually run by a group of students there initially, and they've done an incredible job. There's been a really incredible response nationwide by our country's young people to the COVID response. It's been incredible to see. Next question. Could Ollie update on the partner consultation between Royal Orthopaedic Hospital? I can update. The update is I've asked and I've had nothing. I will ask you again. With a lot of the highway changes that we've fought really hard for the last 2 years to do, and I think it's worth recognising that we've done a really good job together on getting a lot of these changes brought forward that I think people have asked for quite some time. But it does take time, and I think during COVID, I think it's just going to take longer to get things done. I'm pretty hopeful those changes around the Royal Orthopaedic Hospital will not just go ahead, but hopefully we can expand them a bit so they're a little more sensible and cover a little more areas. Andy, hello Andy, Andy Moles. When will work start on the golf course? Well, you may have seen both myself and the Conservative MP, Gary Sandbrook, we wrote on behalf of the residents group that's been set up at the golf course. We wrote and asked Blur to do no work during COVID. We didn't think it was safe. It did look like they were on the golf course doing some work. We don't have a start date. I've asked planning for clarity on what's happening there, and I haven't really had it. And as you've probably seen, as I've seen over the past couple of years, sadly, they just tend to give us very short notice and then pop up on the golf course. I still don't think it's the best use of space. I'm told it's done and it's going ahead now. I think in light of the climate emergency, I personally think it's a farce to build over a huge green space when the planet is collapsing. We should be saving green spaces, not building on them. We shall see. Maybe Blur will have a change of heart and become eco-friendly and turning it into a community forest. Who knows? Alfrey, you asked about DWP starting sanctions again. I think you're asking. I personally think it's appalling them starting up sanctions again. I think it demonises people who are struggling. I think the approach the DWP have had to people who've struggled and how we punish them for already being in poverty and punish them for being out of work, I think is appalling. I will look into that more and get a response for you on what is exactly happening and how we protest against that if we locally believe it's wrong, which I do. I don't think they should be reintroducing the sanctions. That's been answered. Oh, someone asked Paulette what are the different pillars she was talking about. I will ask, and you're right, I should have asked that. I will ask Paulette what she meant when she said the different pillars. I presume she means like different groupings, but I'll find out. I'm guessing there. Will Birmingham consider distributing free face masks to the public through distribution points? That's a really good point. I will get an answer on that for you. But that would be sensible, wouldn't it, if we're being told we have to wear them and some people don't have them. It'd be good to support people to get them. Incidentally, if you or anyone else is struggling, if you're having to go back to work and you're struggling to afford or find a mask, do email me. There's a number of groups making them, and I'm sure we can get some donated if you are genuinely struggling and you need it to go to work. We wouldn't want anything to get in the way of you being safe and well. You'd like to see posters on high-profile places such as shopping centres and libraries. I will see if we can get some COVID info posters up on the high street. I'm sure Marcia is looking at that with a bit. Sorry, hold on. Excuse me. Where we're up to. Some more questions for Paulette. Actually, I'll email these across. So some clarification. Oh, I am interested to learn who abstained in the vote covering 5G and why. Jason could have fed back on that, the resident who was going to speak. We'll get that for July, or I'll get it on social media. There has been some emails around about that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say who abstained on it. I think it's a real shame abstaining on the vote. Yes, I think the whole 5G Mast thing was a real shame. In regards to ways to discourage people from speeding on Church Road, perhaps a zebra crossing across the adult education centre. Yeah, I agree, that's a horrible road. Lots of the roads in that area lend themselves to horrendous and dangerous driving. I agree, when I ask for crossings, I'm told, no, they're too expensive. I would like them across the whole area. I think people should have priority everywhere. You should be able to cross pretty much every main road in multiple spaces with children, with pushchairs, with wheelchairs. I agree with that. We will fight for it. What is happening with the outreach addiction team? Good question. I do not know. I will find out. We have a steady decline in funding community services since Thatcher and Blair included. It's not just the last 10. That's because I said 10 years ago, sorry. I mean, that's true, but the last 10 years have been excessively brutal. But I take your point, I believe. I hope that this COVID emergency has made us see that we need a different way of living, that it's people before profit, I think, and that we need to pull our communities together and focus on things that connect us. That, of course, takes funding. What is the outreach addiction team doing in Northfield? Are they active? Have the bid engaged, as mentioned? Yeah, so there was an outreach team. Actually, there was a charity who were going to be hired by the bid. Marcia will be able to feed back on that. Oh, there's Max saying, I've been here the whole time. I'm sorry, Max. We'll get you on next time. We're nearly there, guys. I'm just going to blast you the last few. If you have any more, do put them on. As part of the potential reallocation of road space on the high street, will there be consultation with the disability groups or service providers to help shape these proposals? I'm happy to contribute on behalf of cycling projects, also as a local resident. So, yes, I mean, up till now, it's been a relatively emergency response for the high street, and they just want to get that sorted in a temporary measure quickly. But I have set up this climate cafe on Facebook, which is really looking at the walking and cycling and green spaces. If anyone's interested in joining that, especially from a disability perspective or from a parent of young kids, or if you work in the area and want to be part of the conversation, how we make Northfield safe and fun to get about on bike, public transport, foot, wheelchair, pushchair, message me and I will add you to that group. That question was from Chris, who is part of it. Oh, is the funding going to the usual groups or other groups able to apply? I don't really know what that means. That seems quite a pointed question. If there are specific groups you're thinking are getting funding unfairly or anything, do raise that. So for more clarity on that, when I said about NCP getting funding, it's not usual groups. So there's two things. One, NCP themselves have applied for funding to do great work in the community, generally linked with the Northfield Stakeholders Group, which is a collection of charities, organisations, churches doing work for the common good of Northfield. So they've had some funding to do lots of good work. But also NCP are part of various processes for other people to apply for money. So when it says, can other groups apply? Yeah, absolutely. The way most of these groups apply is they'll be on email funding lists. So whoever this is, it says anonymous. If you want to email me, I can send you the email funding link that NCP send out regularly. And is it Community Matters? yeah, we can get you those funding links. Anyone can apply. There's no such thing as the usual groups. To be honest, generally the usual groups that often you see getting funding, they tend to be just ones that constantly apply, and then you get maybe, you know, 5 to 10% of what you bid for. So if you're interested in getting funding but you don't know how, let me know. Me, and I'm sure Max from NCP can help you apply for other funding. There's a question about Labour Party documents. I'm not allowed to talk on that, but if whoever sent that wants to ask me why I'm not, message me. I'm more than happy to say why I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I'm not allowed to go into details. I'm happy for you to ask them. Personally, I think we should talk about all things. Ah, nice comment. Good to hear about racism and discrimination. Not good to hear about it. This person means it's good we're talking about it. Not good. Good to hear it's being addressed in a calm and level-headed way. Good to have these conversations in our community. I'm pleased you think that. I agree. More good conversations, more holding the ground against racism and fascism. Can you confirm the date of July meeting? No, because I'm waiting on the BCC Highways team to tell us when they can do it. Sorry. So I can't confirm because I want them on it. Thanks to Paulette from Kate. Wonderful. Right. I campaigned during the general election and the racist abuse was real and scary. Thank you for that, for being candid in that post. I'm sorry you experienced that. That's why we want to do this work, to change that happening again. Can we let people know about disposing of plastic gloves in the supermarket? There's lots in hedges and shopping trolleys. I agree. One of the really horrible things in response to this coronavirus is people dropping lots of litter, face masks, gloves, but also when they have gone out of parks, leaving junk and bottles and mess everywhere. We do have to clean up and recycle. I'll raise that with the Northfield bid in the supermarkets and ask if they can have signs up and maybe specific bins, maybe. I will raise that for you. I totally agree. Max from NCP has put loads of great information in. I'm going to get that all emailed out to everybody. If you have not sent us your email, Leslie or Kay, how do people give you their emails to get an email sent to them after this?
They can put the emails into the chat box because this is going to remain private, and you can contact them then. So if anybody wants to put their emails in the Q&A, that'll go straight to you.
Brilliant. So pop your email in. No one else can see it. We'll document it and we'll do a follow-up email. Alfrey's, there's 3 more questions. One's a statement. Alfrey is just put about posting questions. I just want to say thank you, Alfrey, for putting lots of good questions in. She's just asked whether her questions came across. There you go. I'm through them all. So I think this has went really well. I hope you think it has done too. If anyone else wants to listen in the coming days, it will be up. Please do send your suggestions about how we can do it better. The next one in July, when I get a date, it's going to be focused on climate breakdown and how we respond. But that's a key issue and it really will impact this year, and especially those already in poverty. So how do we respond positively with that? We're going to look at the highway changes around walking and cycling. I'd be keen for Northfield Ward to hopefully be part of the low traffic neighbourhoods with some work to make our spaces safe to just live, to thrive, to exist. We're also going to have a report back from the young men looking at Black Lives Matter, and I hope there'll be some broader conversation there. But if there's other people you want to speak at the next ward forum, if there are questions you want to ask, let me know and we'll do our best to get them on. Finally, to add, you can find me most days if you need any help or any support on Facebook or Twitter. I'm at Ollie, O-L-L-Y, number 4, Northfield, Ollie 4 Northfield. Or you can email me at my councillor email, ollie.armstrong@birmingham.gov.uk with any issue. We'll do our best to help you out. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to hoy any more questions in that chat box. Otherwise, we're pretty much done.
We have got people putting their email addresses in, so. Okay.
Oh yeah, so remember you can put your email in. People are doing that already.
Yeah.
And we'll record those. I'm just going to glance at my notes, make sure I've told you everything I wanted to. Stay there, drink your tea, have a relax. So I think we have been through everything I wanted to share with you. Oh, Randall Drew, if you're listening, happy birthday. Randall, who I saw earlier today, said he was going to come on the call, and he also thanked me for putting the meeting on his birthday. He also said he would not thank me if I sang, so we will not sing happy birthday. But if you're there, mate, or if you're watching back later, hope you've had a good one. And that's pretty much it. Thank you all who have tuned in. Thank you all who maybe watch this at a later date. I hope it's been helpful to you. I'm sorry we didn't get to see each other's faces properly like we normally do. I am looking forward to, after lockdown, going back to our regular monthly meetings to see you. Final point, if you want to be part of one of the hyper local Facebook groups, so they're just for people who live in little clusters of streets across Northfield Ward, message me and I will let you into the one that's for your group. They've got rules about safety, rules about behaviour. They're moderated by residents, and it's a space to check in, chat, and then occasionally I'll be in there, answer any questions. Hopefully see you soon.